I'm here today to talk with all of you at home, whatever your political stripes. This is a message about stark differences in direction, and my long journey to becoming a Republican. I'd especially like to reach out to Republicans to build a dialogue about rebuilding this party and putting this country back on track. But I also want to speak to open-minded Democrats who just might be open to another point of view. All I ask is that you hear me out. Ronald Reagan once addressed a crowd while campaigning for Barry Goldwater, where he said, "I've spent most of my life as a Democrat. I recently have seen fit to follow another course." Once a proud liberal and Democrat in favor of FDR's New Deal, Reagan added shortly thereafter, "I didn't leave behind the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party left me." Reagan was terrified by the increasingly intrusive, ever-expanding government created by his own party, and I have to say I understand his frustration pretty well. Until very recently, I was a Democrat. I fought fiercely for Hillary Clinton, then made the move over to support John McCain's candidacy last fall. I stood with Hillary because she's a fighter, and I knew that she would go to work with her sleeves rolled up to champion everyday Americans in pragmatic and tangible ways. I admired her tough stance on foreign policy, her common sense solutions for the everyday real challenges that face our people, and the wisdom she displayed by calling for a more effective government rather than a larger one. I was proud to be on her side when she championed a gas tax holiday as prices at the pump edged over $4 a gallon, and people were hurting. I was proud when she fought then-Senator Obama over tax hikes for middle-class Americans, and as she fought for working people, and talked the same way about middle America in Scranton as she did in San Francisco. Through the process, I watched my party change rules mid-election, silence voters, raise hordes of dirty money, and spend that money on the very same campaign tactics they accuse of the Republicans. Worst of all, my party was launching these attacks against one of their own, my candidate. It's no hyperbole to tell you that I felt dirty to be a part of that team by the end of the selection process. Coming across the divide to support Senator McCain for president was an experience that I don't regret and will never forget. I saw a lot of the same tough instincts to fight in Senator McCain that I admired in Hillary. I loved that he wasn't afraid to address a tough challenge, and that he was happy to field criticism from either the left or the right. Senator McCain has a history of reform and coalition building, and seeks out the best solution, whether it's Democratic, Republican, or bipartisan. Pulling the lever for him was an easy decision. And I knew, though I knew I was on the less popular side of a tough fight, I'm absolutely certain that standing with John McCain and the Republicans was the right thing to do. What I didn't know then was how the fight would change me. I've done a lot of soul searching and asked myself some pretty tough questions, and I've thought long and hard about what's truly important in this country. Now, I too stand firmly at odds with the president's agenda, horrified as I watch Obamonomics threaten the foundations of our democracy, and feeling frustrated and concerned and anxious. Our nation is at a crossroads, not for the first time in our history. Just as many of you, I find myself confused and unsure of how to act, what to say, or even what to think as this so-called change sweeps our nation and indeed the world. I too am scared of what it means for future generations, while Barack Obama and Harry Reid and Nancy Pelosi come together to steer us through this fog. They go to work, armed with a goodie bag of pork projects for Democratic members to bring home to their districts, armed with a laundry list of new government programs and agencies to be created, armed with a blank checkbook to spend the money of Americans who aren't even alive yet to complain about it. They should be ashamed, not proud. In 2006, the Democrats ran a campaign for control of Congress based on the idea that American life would be better if only they had the power to make it better. They campaigned on ending the war in Iraq, protecting our jobs and our homes, and keeping the economy going strong. When they assumed power from the Republicans, the Dow Jones was at 14,000. Home ownership was at a record high. Fuel prices were moderate and people had jobs to go to. After receiving control, not only didn't congressional Democrats end the war in Iraq, they perpetuated the issue so they could use it for political purposes in upcoming elections. They fought the president tooth and nail on the only winning strategy that has come from Iraq, the surge. They chose to continue to fund the war, then chastise Republicans for doing the same. Also under a Democratic Congress, the economy began to collapse. Housing prices tumbled. People's investment and retirement portfolios have declined by as much as half. Many who are lucky enough to still have a job have either taken a reduction in pay or an increase in job duties to protect whatever income they do have. Fuel prices soared because a Congress hostile to even exploring for more domestic sources of fuel at home means that there's no alternative but to shop among our neighbors abroad, many of whom don't have our best interests in mind, to say the least. Solar power and wind energy and hydrogen cars and hybrid technology, those are all great ideas that deserve serious consideration and financial support. But there's a mother on your street, as well as on mine, and she has a family that's counting on her. Her tight budget doesn't make it affordable to replace her minivan with a new, more efficient vehicle. Tomorrow she has to stop at the grocery store and bring her children to soccer practice and probably drive herself to work if she's lucky enough to still have a job. Her vehicle won't run on hope alone. She needs a tank full of gas, and she needs it tomorrow. Promising to address the energy question later isn't going to fulfill her family's needs, nor mine, nor yours. We must find a domestic solution to our domestic problem, so that we're in control of our own destiny. We must take from our bountiful resources here at home first. We must proceed with swiftness and boldness and never be afraid of the background noise of the naysayers. Turning up our thermostats and inflating our tires is not a solution. It's just delaying the inevitable.